Hey guys, my name is Witsumio, and today I would like to talk about some operators that I would like to see added into Rainbow Six Siege. This is a question that I get all the time. What would their ability be? How would their gadget work? What would you like to see introduced in this game? And so I figured I'd just make a video about it. And so to start things off, I was talking to Fabian, the pro player from G2, and he had a really interesting concept for a new character who would be able to essentially create soft walls where normally a doorway would be. Now, some of you are probably thinking right now, well, isn't that exactly what Castle does? Well, the difference would be is that unlike Castle, there wouldn't be that lower part so drones couldn't pass on by. It would literally be a normal soft wall in that doorway, and on top of that, he would only be able to do it twice. The twist on it, though, is that he would also allow his teammates to go on up and actually reinforce said doorway. The caveat to this, to ensure that he doesn't become blatantly overpowered and no one wants to play as Castle anymore, is that Fabian stated that this Bob the Builder operator would not be able to reinforce any walls. So normally your defensive team has access to 10 reinforcements, now it's down to 8. And so essentially, if you had this character on your team, you would have more soft walls around the objective, but less reinforcements. This means that yes, you would be able to fortify that doorway now, but it's gonna give offense the ability to hit you from a different angle because you weren't able to reinforce those different locations. And so I think the reason why I like this idea so much is that it gives defense a lot more tools and ways for them to influence and change the map into their favor. This will open up loads of different possibilities and strategies that we've never seen before, because normally you can't sit in a doorway. Yes, you could put a castle barricade down, or you could put down a deployable shield that will watch your back a little bit, but more often than not, you normally do not want to sit directly in front of a doorway. They're going to be able to shoot your feet if it's a castle, they can throw a nade directly on over and take you down. But with this though, these positions now become way more fortified. On the other side of the coin though, this also has the potential to make offense a lot more interesting, because now you're having to adapt to these new strategies. Because defense only has 8 reinforcements at their disposal, they've used 2 of them on reinforcing a doorway. Well, now that leaves only 6 reinforcements for all of the other walls on the objective. Most objectives require more than 6, and so this makes you choose which ones are you going to reinforce. This is now going to open up the possibility for your soft breachers to have a lot more impact on a match. Your Zophias, Ashe, Buck, Sledge, anyone with a breaching charge is going to have a lot more influence in a game and really just change up the strategies, which I find incredibly exciting. All in all, though, I thought Fabian's idea was really cool. The more I think about it, the more I like it. It has a lot of different elements. I don't think it'd be overpowered in the grand scheme of things. It has its checks, its balances. We already have operators in the game to deal with a character like this, and so I thought this would be a really cool addition into Rainbow Six Siege. Another operator that I'd like to see introduced is one that has access to a silent spider drone. One of my favorite aspects of this game is the ability to gather information and then take advantage of said information. Either yourself get a flank off, or to make callouts to your team. The thing is though, is like we talked about in a previous Sunday Mailbox episode, is that there really isn't a whole lot of offensive operators that has access to this kind of information gathering. Yes, I do understand that we have Twitch, but she's a base operator. You feel like we're due for having another drone operator introduced in the game. I get that there's Jackal, Dokkaebi, and Lion, but we don't really have anything along the lines of actually a camera or a drone to get into the objective or be sneaky enough to gather that kind of information. And so I think the reason why I like this idea so much is that it's very simplistic and it's already attuned to something that we're already very comfortable with. Now, if this isn't good enough because people are watching for movement at the beginning of a match, they see something move up on the ceiling, they're gonna spot it and they're gonna take it out, well, they could add a stealth component. So for a short period of time, let's say 4 or 5 seconds, you can cloak your drone just like an Echo. So that way you can sneak onto the objective, walk up a wall, walk up on the ceiling, however, wherever you want to place it, and then you have that drone that you and your team can take advantage of for the rest of the match, or as long as people don't spot it. Now, some people might make the argument that this doesn't sound all that impressive because it's not doing a whole lot. You're not taking out gadgets, you're not getting through walls, it sounds pretty mediocre. But I'd argue that it actually would be really powerful used in the right circumstances and with a well-coordinated team. How many times have you seen someone in your drone, they didn't realize the gadget was there, you were then able to round the corner, essentially pre-firing their location and taking them out instantaneously even before they even knew what happened? it's a really strong tactic. And so I think that's just what it comes down to. It's not flashy, it's nothing too crazy, it's essentially just a stealthier drone, but I would love to have more of these kinds of gadgets available for the offensive team. Another operator that I would like to see added is one that has really large deployable shields. I really like the idea of deployable shields, like we just talked about. I think it's really cool when defense has tools that allow them to manipulate the map into their favor, block lines of sight, protect you from different flanks, but the deployable shield doesn't really do a good job of that. Yes, in some circumstances, it can be really beneficial, but because it is so small, it's very situational. Well, what if there was a new operator that had a much larger one, or that could be extended across the hallway and block the hallway from the waist down? Now, some people might say, well, why don't we just buff deployable shields? And I wouldn't be opposed to that, but if Ubisoft didn't want to go down that path, I think introducing a new operator that has this capability could be really interesting. That hallway that normally wouldn't be the best spot to camp in because you're out in the open in the hallway with no cover to hide behind, well, now you've got the deployable shield that extends from one side over to the other. You can pop up from anywhere behind it, making it really difficult for offense to push down that hallway. The counters to this, of course, would be the normal counters to the regular deployable shields. So nades, Zofia charges, Ash, for example. It wouldn't be something that would be insurmountable, but it would allow defense more options for different objectives. One concern I do have with it is that it might be difficult for this operator to be effective because of the wide variety of different things that are scattered around the map. There are some times when you want to drop down a deployable shield already in that exact location and you have a hard time doing so because there's things all over the place. You got desks, you got chairs, and so by introducing something that's larger, you may not actually get those in spots that you want, but I think if Ubisoft was able to work around this, this could also be a really cool operator added into the game. You may have noticed a trend with these suggestions. They're not flashy. This isn't a lion scanning everyone and forcing them to stand still. This isn't a Dokkaebi calling everyone's phone and giving away their position based off of the audio. They're very simplistic and really just are an iteration of other operators or gadgets that we're all very comfortable with that have been in the game since the very beginning. I realize that some of these may not work out. They could be terrible. Like, I get that, but the thing I'm trying to avoid with these suggestions is that I feel like Ubisoft has been running into the problem where every single season, or most seasons, they introduce an operator that's stronger and stronger. The power creep hasn't been dramatic, but it has been present. Ela, Lion, Dokkaebi, we've now got Maverick, Clash. All these characters are incredibly strong, and a lot would argue they outdo and outclass a lot of the previous operators. That is something that I'm trying to avoid. Moving on over to the offensive side of things, I really want someone who can barricade. I get we've talked about this in previous videos, so I'm not going to talk about it too much, but I just think that this would be a cool addition. Having the ability to block off an access route, stop a roamer, or having a physical barrier that they're now going to have to knock down is going to give you that buffer and that early warning when someone is trying to get the flank off. I know there's claymores, I know that there are some ways to slow them down. Having people watch your back is also a good strategy, but having just simply the ability to place a couple of barricades up to slow down the progress of the defensive team when they are trying to push on in and flank you, I think would be really interesting. And then finally, I think it'd be incredible to have some sort of hole blocking operator. I realize this would probably be very difficult for them to program, but if someone gets through a reinforced wall, Thermite uses his gadget, instead of just saying, well, that's it for that wall, what if someone could then throw in this foam hardening gadget, it lands, it expands, and then it covers up that hole. This could have a lot of interesting applications. First of all, it would just be a way for you to slow down the progress of the offensive team, but if you're lucky enough to be able to throw this and not get taken out and someone's in the room, you then lock them out from their entire team that's supporting behind them. Now, the downsides of this is, like I just mentioned, you need to get line of sight, and if they just opened up a reinforced wall, they're probably looking at it, and so that might be difficult to do so. But it would give you that flexibility. Now, I realize I kind of contradicted myself. I just said that a lot of these gadgets are pretty simplistic. This wouldn't be, and I don't know how Ubisoft would be able to program this properly, because if someone's in the hole, and this lands at their feet, which side do they end on? Like, that would be something they'd have to work around. But I think that if they made it work, this could be a really cool, unique operator. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about these ideas. Do you like the operators that I came up with? Do you think that they're terrible, the worst things ever? Or is there an operator specifically that you would like to see introduced? Let me know down below in the comments. But yeah, guys, until next time, have a good one and take it easy.